Liberal Fox News host Jessica Tarlov got fed up and finally took off the gloves against her 4 condescending, perpetually wrong MAGA co-hosts, putting them in their place as she brutally fact-checked them one after another. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, check it out. We have several clips here of Jess finally taking the gloves off.
Normal people don't talk like extrajudicial. You know who talks like that? Lawyers. They have to stop sounding like lawyers. You sound weak. You sound wily. Lawyers are unpopular, almost as unpopular as pollsters, Jessica. And when you contrast that with Trump, who's taking strong action, and you have a guy that's saying extrajudicial killing, it just makes you guys look pathetic and not normal.
Jessica, to Jesse's point, I mean, are Democrats falling for the latest trap, or aren't they just playing right into the hands of Republicans with Democrats now defending drug lords?
No, I don't see it that way. And I just want to, on the lawyer front, Jesse's always like, so embarrassing at the party of lawyers. If you guys had better lawyers, you would win more cases.
We've won everything
you
at
lost
the Supreme Court.
Literally every lawyer that showed up in court at the 2020 election got laughed. Oh, the big one.
That one.
The big lie. The
that
big
was
one?
not really well argued. We got better ones this time, and we're like 8-0. But go ahead, Jessica. I don't want to take your time.
Any hoodles.
So she's right to point out the fact that at least barring the Supreme Court, yes, in front of conservative, liberal, even Trump-appointed judges, right? You don't even have to go to Reagan. The Trump administration and Republicans tend to lose at court. Now, it is to their benefit that the court of last resort is a 6-3 conservative supermajority, and Trump appointed 50% of that 6-3 conservative supermajority. You know, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, Gorsuch. But yes, that was a good zinger, firing back like, no, we actually have better lawyers, and indeed they do. And I mean, Trump, of course, was humiliated during the 2020 election lawsuits. More than 60 court cases litigated to try to sue his way back into the White House, and he failed every time. Also point out, it's really weird and gross that Jesse Waters and, oh man, I'm blanking on her name, but the blonde sitting next to Waters who spoke up in that clip, you know, trying to make the case that, oh, you guys are weak because you want due process. They're, of course, referring to the fact that Trump vaporized a boat of Venezuelans off the coast of Venezuela that he claims, but has offered no evidence of, were drug traffickers. Now, this, according to legal experts, is a major violation of international law because it's not like the Trump administration attempted to interdict and inspect the boat, right? It's not like this was self-defense, at least based on the footage they provided. They just unilaterally killed a group of people that they claim but have not proven were drug traffickers. And listen, I'm sorry, due process exists. I'm not saying that you have to let the drug traffickers go, but that's why you interdict them and take them into custody. And then if they attempt to resist, then, of course, if you kill them in self-defense, that's different. But that's not what the footage shared by the Trump administration shows. And it's just really gross how Jesse Waters refers to this stuff. Again, that's assuming that they're human traffickers in the first place, which we have no reason to believe the Trump administration. Here's another clip.
Yeah, Harry Truman, not famously woke. I should note a bunch of presidents that served our country, not Donald Trump, but Truman, Eisenhower, JFK, LBJ, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, H.W. Bush, all of them was just fine to call it the Department of Defense. You know who else calls it the Department of Defense? The people that Donald Trump are jealous of. The Chinese and the Russians also use that name. It's because he thinks it sounds more dangerous, more big guy, more manly. Like Jesse said, it's a nickname. It's all a game. And first of all, it passed through Congress. So they're probably gonna have to go back through Congress to do it. So nothing has been changed except that their chyrons get to look that way. In terms of smoking the...
So yes, again, this is referring to the ridiculous virtue signal of changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And we'll probably talk about this in a separate video, but according to the experts, the Pentagon officials are not happy about this. Like, we're behind the scenes. They are pissed off because they think it's absurd, it's counterintuitive, it's unnecessary. It's going to cost billions of taxpayer dollars to change all the references to the Department of War, like all the signage and all the letterhead. You know, we're talking about the biggest, you know, the biggest part of the federal government is the Department of Defense. That's a lot. You have to change the name on the buildings, the plaques, the signage. All these references will take millions and potentially billions of dollars to do. And it's absurd and it's cringe. And Trump is now leaning on the official White House page where he is the wartime president. I thought he was going to be the president of peace. Again, nothing matters. It's just all cynical. It's just to own the libs. They care about nothing. They want nothing. No principles, no consistency. And I like the fact how she, again, taking the gloves off, taking a dig at Donald Trump's, President Bone Spurs, as Governor Westmore of Maryland calls him, and the fact that so many liberal and conservative veteran presidents who served in the United States Armed Forces before becoming president, were perfectly content to call it the Department of Defense. So it really seems like Trump is just doing some, really ridiculous live action role play. Like he's some nerd out in the park somewhere swinging around a foam sword, pretending it's real. He's basically doing the equivalent of that, but with the U.S. military. Here's another clip.
About how this happened, but our very own Jennifer Griffin was posting about the fact that now there are 8 Navy destroyers in the Caribbean, which certainly seems like we are going to war in that region. So typically the F-35s that are on there would be heading to Iran, for instance, to blow up a nuclear facility. What exactly are we doing? And then by extension of that, is there a chance that Donald Trump is trying to get us into a war with Venezuela so that he can use the Alien Enemies Act to try to pull off some of the deportations that he has failed to be able to do in the first few months of his administration?
That's a good conspiracy theory.
You like it?
I love it.
I give it to you.
I'll take
Again, pretty sassy. Love to see it because she normally has to put up with all this like condescending bullshit from her MAGA co-host there. And yeah, it's possible that Trump is using this as a pretext to try to invoke the Alien Enemies Act in order to, unlock further the broader scope of executive power. And that's incredibly dangerous because according to legal experts, the Supreme Court has considered invoking the Alien Enemies Act non-justiciable, and the idea that the court can't review whether this is a legitimate application of the Alien Enemies Act. And that's kind of strange, but again, too much of our system is dependent on norms. The Alien Enemies Act was signed into law in the age of President Washington, President Adams, President Jefferson, right? Statesmen, whether you liked them or not, who could be trusted not to try to hoard executive power unto themselves the way that Trump is doing. But again, we'll see what happens. And yes, Jennifer Griffin, we did a video about this. She's a celebrated national security correspondent at Fox News, says, yeah, it looks like the United States is going to war. And of course, Congress is the one that can only declare war, the only branch it can, but they're going to rubber stamp anything Trump does anyway. So that's where we are. Here's another clip.
They're going to make this the Department of War. This is a president of offense. He doesn't say don't, because when you say don't, the Enemies Act. When you say don't, Putin goes into Ukraine. When you say don't, Hamas attacks on October 7th. When you say do, when you actually do in action, you achieve the respect of the world. And that's what's happened with President Trump.
You were on maternity leave. Congratulations, by the way, during the Alaska summit, where he thought he made a lot of progress. I'm sure you did.
You don't check
and
out.
then Putin showed up and he's standing with President Xi, and Donald Trump says now they're conspiring against me.
How many wars did Biden end? Also, when I was on maternity leave, we got to the fact that there are 7 wars that President
fresh,
Trump
even though
ended.
you've been on leave.
I am not fresh.
You are.
I'm very, and in fact, let me tell you how fresh.
So again, I love it. Now she's trying to move the goalpost here. This idea of the Department of War, that's going to stop wars. Donald Trump campaigned on ending the war with Russia and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza in 24 hours. He has failed spectacularly and been humiliated on the global stage. He's actually accelerating the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza, and he has done nothing to deter Vladimir Putin. Putin's war of aggression on Ukraine has actually increased in terms of the aggression. The military strikes by Russia into Ukraine have increased on Trump's watch. He has failed to deter either of these things, and that's a major failure. So she wants to talk about President Biden. Well, we could talk about the fact that President Biden, when he was in office, managed the war against Ukraine much better. I'm not going to give him any flowers for what happened in Gaza, but in terms of the Russia-Ukraine war, he was a pretty consistent and steadfast ally of Ukraine. And nobody claimed that Joe Biden could snap his fingers and end that war in 24 hours. So if you want to knock him for that, feel free. Fair enough. But Trump was the one who's like, no, that's because Biden sucks. I'm such a genius. I'm going to be able to get it done in a day. And he failed. So we're not holding Biden to Trump's standard. We're holding Trump to Trump's standard. And by Trump's standard, he's an abject failure. And this idea that the name change of the Department of War is going to make a meaningful difference there is absurd. Now, I'll also point out, too, the fact-checking on the 7. She's like, well, we also learned that Donald Trump ended 7 wars. Bullshit. Bullshit. He has not ended 7 wars. It's been fact-checked to hell and back. And as a matter of fact, part of the reason that Putin is cozying up to Xi, right? And again, good on Jessica for pointing out that the Alaska summit was an abject failure. You can see that triggered Kayleigh McEnany. She didn't want to deal. Well, what about Joe Biden? Even if she was 100% right about Biden, it doesn't change the fact that Trump failed, and I get to ding you for that failure, and I win and you lose. And so you just have to take the fact that Trump is an abject failure and that he has failed to produce the results that he's claimed that he wants to have. So again, she can't change that. But it's interesting that one of the reasons that Modi and Putin and Xi are cozying up together at that summit in China is because Trump has alienated Modi. And why has he alienated Modi? Well, two reasons. One is Modi won't nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. That's been reported. The second reason is he's pissed that Modi won't give him credit for brokering the truce between India and Pakistan. Well, that's because India says Trump had nothing to do with it, number one. And number two, that armed conflict between two nuclear powers broke out on Trump's watch, not Biden's watch. So there again, that's a kind of another failure, isn't it? Kayleigh McEnany of Donald Trump. I digress. Here's another clip.
And I hear, the residents want it. The residents want it. There's on Kendall Reed, who's a gun violence mediator in South Side of Chicago. We need mental health resources, job opportunities to stop school closures. Send those people in. Don't send the military in. Donald Trump has been cutting budgets for mental health. And as far as the job opportunities, I'm sure you saw the jobs number this morning. A big disappointment, even Kevin Hass admitted it. Only added 22,000 jobs in August, expected 75K. We had a downward revision for June to minus 13,000. Haven't had that since December.
This is called a red herring. Literally, the Chiron talks about crime and you pivot to jobs.
I read you something from someone who's talking about the military and crime and then saying, how about we get a job opportunity? Also, that voters went out and they put Donald Trump in because they thought he was going to, quote unquote, fix the economy. And the exact opposite has happened. You can make people.
Look how upset she is. She's so triggered.
Shoot others less. You can bring down crime by giving people job opportunities and a better economic future. And
that's all criminals need is jobs.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, poverty and crime are correlated. And yes, people who are actually making money, people who are actually have fulfilling jobs, yes, they're much less likely to commit crime, certainly violent crime. So no, Jess has a really good point there. And again, just the idea of, you can't bring up the economy. I don't want to talk about that right now. No, fuck you. We are going to talk about the economy. And if you were on the other foot and the topic were different, you'd want to talk about the economy too. No, we're going to play by Fox rules. Good on Jess for doing that. One last clip. It's pretty good.
This role is so unbelievably out of his league, it's hard to comprehend. And you say the media is melting down. The media is Senator Bill Cassidy, Senator John Barroso, Senator John Kennedy, Senator Tom Tillis, all Republicans that voted to confirm him, who are saying we are denying people vaccines. You promised to uphold the highest standards for vaccines and have not done so.
What vaccines has he denied someone?
Right. COVID-19. Exactly.
To who can't get a COVID-19
Eric Erickson's wife, to begin, and Bill Cassidy used.
Wait a second. You mean you can't walk into your doctor's office and get a COVID-19 shot?
Why don't you ever prepare? Why don't you prepare? Kathy Hochul had to do it.
True?
No, it's not true.
No, it is true.
He reclassified it.
Stop.
He reclassified
Kayleigh,
it.
you now
can still
need
get
a prescription, and CVS and Walgreens is denying it to people because of the quote-unquote regulatory environment. You can thumb your nose at it. You are healthy and lucky you.
This is why
but there are
even
sick
Senator
people.
Warren, I assume you look up to Senator Warren. She said effectively denied. Effectively.
Well, Bill Cassidy.
What? Oh, it's so funny. I mean, sure, he didn't write it down, deny everybody. He just made it really hard for people to get it. I mean, he didn't officially say, no, you can't have it. He's just made it impossible for you to get it. That's a difference without a distinction. What a dumb statement from an incredibly stupid person who knows, again, she's losing the argument. The fact of the matter is, Jess has a point here, which is the fact that Republican politicians who voted to confirm RFK Jr. are calling him out for this. This is not a partisan Democratic attack. And McEnany, nor Waters, nor any of the others have any answer for that. She wins, they lose. They're screwed on this. This is just an objectively terrible thing that RFK Jr. has done. They have no answer for it. And good on her for roasting Jesse Waters. Why don't you prepare for this? Because it's not about winning the debate. He knows Jessica Tarlov is smarter than him, better prepared than him. The facts benefit her more than him. And so all he can do is roast and heckle and treat it like it's a comedy club. He's trying to do what Trump does. He lost. Trump lost all the debates against Hillary Clinton, who was much smarter than he is, better prepared on the facts. When anything ever came to substance in 2016, she dominated every time. He lost every time. So when you know you're outclassed on the facts and on the grasp of policy, what do? You heckle and mock, which is what Waters does. And it's good that she called him out for that. We're going to finish this clip.
Oh, you mean insurance doesn't cover it if you're healthy?
No,
is
that's
that what
not
you're
what I
talking
mean.
about?
I mean that you need a prescription to get it. It is becoming what?
Okay.
You shouldn't.
If you're healthy, you don't need a COVID vaccine. If you want
You're
one,
not.
pay the
I'm
extra
talking
$100.
about a woman with stage 4 cancer.
They can get it if you have stage 4
Eric
cancer,
Erickson's
Jessica.
wife cannot. He wrote about it. He talked about it.
I don't know anything about his wife, but
First of all, this is not a state-by-state basis, Jessica. This wasn't a blanket.
There are 16 states
I'll give you
where
this. There has been some confusion. There's been some confusion.
How big of you to admit that, Sandra? Come on.
Okay. Okay. It was on a state-by-state
Yeah,
basis.
I am upset about this.
Don't be so upset.
You urged Jesse to do his homework. I did. There are.
She didn't do her homework. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, the best you can offer is there's been some confusion. How very big of you, how very generous of you. Again, if there were just some confusion about this, if this were a minor hiccup, then Barrasso and Cassidy and Tom Tillis would not have been ripping RFK Jr.'s ass a new one in front of the Senate. They would have not risked the political consequences of doing so. This is a big fucking deal. And Eric Erickson, who is a pro-Republican conservative radio host, has been complaining about this. He tried to blame Democrats, where he's like, well, the only reason RFK Jr. is able to do this to me, and it sucks, and this isn't right, but it's really because of the Democrats. If the Democrats hadn't been so arrogant, like, no, asshole, this is you and your party. This is all your fault. All your fault. All your fault. But yeah, good on Jess again for she's fed up, and I don't blame her. This isn't hypothetical. People's lives are on the line. The life of the wife of a major Republican talk show. I mean, set liberals and progressives aside. If you guys don't, if the Republicans don't give a shit about that, this is affecting them and their loved ones as a direct consequence of Donald Trump and the Republicans and RFK Jr. Again, all the Republicans' fault. Insane stuff. Anyway, good on Jess for taking off the gloves and zinging these people back, putting them in their place. Love to see it. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.